The Clash at Whispering Pines. The early light slanted through the slats of my workshop door in Whispering Pines, Florida, while I buffed an old Steel Mark 45, a relic from 3 decades in uniform. My name's Colonel Marcus Grant, retired, and this was meant to be my calm morning ritual. Coffee cooling on the bench, the faint tang of gun solvent, and a mockingbird trilling from a fence across the street. That calm shattered when 3 armed strangers barged through my half-open door, barking commands like I was some crook caught mid-crime. Drop your location in the comments. Let's see how far this story reaches around the world. Put it down, Grant. The one in front snapped, flashing a badge. My blood roared in my ears. Who were these imposters storming my space? Their outfits screamed authority at first glance, but the details betrayed them. Cheap stitching, plastic credentials, and stiff body language trying too hard to be menacing. Then their leader, a slick-haired man calling himself Commander Adrian Cole, dropped his bombshell, classified specifics from my tours overseas, information no outsider should know. My knuckles tightened on the grip. Someone with reach was moving against me, and what followed would rip open a conspiracy that would rock my quiet cul-de-sac to its foundation. The 3 men filled my workshop. Their leader, Cole, clutched a clipboard stacked with papers that looked official. "Colonel Grant, I represent Whispering Pines HOA Security Division," he said, his tone slick and overly practiced. "We're here regarding your firearms compliance." Behind him, 2 others lingered like bodyguard wannabes, eyes flicking nervously around the room. From behind a neighbor's hedge, I noticed Eleanor Drake, our HOA president, emerging with her signature poise. Silver hair, perfectly styled, designer outfit radiating wealth and authority. A former prosecutor, sharp as a tack, with a smile that could soothe or strike fear. "Colonel Grant," she said smoothly, "we're here to protect community safety." Then she dropped a line that froze me. "Your record shows a 2017 administrative action." My head jerked up. That was classified military information. A trivial paperwork issue from my years in service, not public record. How could she possibly know? I kept my composure. "Madam, may I ask how you accessed my military files?" Her smile remained flawless. "Standard verification for high-risk residents, Colonel Grant." It was clearly a setup. Their uniforms were cheap polyester knockoffs, their badges flimsy, and Cole's clipboard bore logos that seemed convincing from afar but crumbled under scrutiny. After 30 years commanding troops, I could sniff out a fraud from a mile away. Eleanor's reference to my administrative record wasn't casual. It was a warning. Something far larger was in motion. Across the street, my neighbor, Marcus Rivera, a former Marine, lingered, avoiding my gaze. Normally, we'd swap war stories over morning coffee, but today, he looked haunted. Mental note made, investigate him later. For now, I leaned back, arms folded. "Very well, gentlemen. What exactly are you proposing?" Cole's eyes gleamed. "We need to examine your property, review your firearms documentation, and interview neighbors regarding safety concerns." Eleanor added in her smooth, confident tone, "We're committed to keeping Whispering Pines a secure community, Colonel Grant." By the next morning, Eleanor had taken things even further. She arrived with a tape measure and a clipboard, treating my front lawn like it was a restricted zone. My neighbor, Martha Lee, a 60-year-old retiree, was filming everything on her phone, live streaming to her growing online audience. "Folks, the HOA's back at Grant's place, acting like they own it," she narrated, her viewer count ticking upward. Eleanor's demands turned absurd: proof of firearm storage, safety certifications, and vague accusations about community unease over my military background. I owned 3 firearms: my service sidearm, a hunting rifle passed down from my father, and a shotgun, all locked in a safe worth more than my truck. Military weapons? A joke if it wasn't so insulting. That evening, Eleanor rented out the community center for a so-called compliance hearing. The setup was surreal: a podium, rows of folding chairs, and Cole playing judge in a crisp suit. 25 neighbors sat like a jury, primed by Eleanor's polished slideshow claiming my military past was tanking property values. Martha's live stream caught everything, her viewers eating up the drama. The hearing felt like a kangaroo court. Neighbors testified about seeing me clean my guns or hearing me mention my service, everyday things twisted into something sinister. Cole, full of theatrical poise, asked loaded questions, while Eleanor presented graphs showing a 3% drop in property values since I'd moved in. Pure fabrication, but convincing to a jittery crowd. 60% voted me a security risk, demanding oversight. It cut deep. People I'd shared coffee with now viewed me as a danger. Then I caught a break. Mid-hearing, Cole's dramatic hand gestures triggered a memory. The cheesy mattress commercial on TV, the one with the guy dancing with a pillow. Your Honor, I cut in. Aren't you the sleep-well bedding guy? The room went silent. Cole's judicial facade cracked. Okay, yes, I do commercials, he stammered. I'm an actor with an MFA. Eleanor hired me for a corporate training project, not a real hearing. The crowd gasped. Martha's stream exploded, viewers calling it Judge Judy meets reality TV. Eleanor tried to salvage her case, but her authority crumbled as neighbors began questioning her motives. That night, I dug deeper into her past. Eleanor Drake, retired federal prosecutor, had moved to Florida 18 months ago, flush with unexplained cash. A call to the VA's security hotline confirmed my suspicions. A string of data breaches targeting veterans linked to a fired VA employee named Walter Garrison. 7 commanders from my old unit had endured similar harassment. This wasn't personal. It was a coordinated strike. The next morning, Eleanor returned, doubling down with a bogus psychological report claiming I suffered from authority defiance syndrome. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Agent Laura Hayes. FBI, do not comply. Federal agents are 30 minutes out. The feds arrived like a whirlwind, led by Agent Hayes, a no-nonsense investigator in her 40s. Colonel Grant, she said, we've been tracking this network for 8 months. Eleanor's operation was a multi-state fraud scheme, netting $156,000 through fake fees and property scams, targeting 12 veterans across 5 states. She had embezzled $47,000 from a Gold Star charity to fund it, leveraging her grief over her son, Lieutenant Nathan Drake, to mask her actions. Nathan had died under my command in Iraq, saving a village school from a suicide bomber. Eleanor blamed me, believing his sacrifice for non-Americans was meaningless. I handed her Nathan's final letter, written the night before he died, praising his mission to protect innocent lives. She read it, tears falling, but her anger remained unbroken. He was my boy, and you sent him to die, she spat. The courtroom in Tampa was a world apart from Eleanor's fabricated tribunal. Judge Margaret Hale, a seasoned jurist, laid out Eleanor's offenses: fraud, embezzlement, and harassment, but recognized the grief behind her actions. Your son's sacrifice deserves honor, not vengeance, Judge Hale said, sentencing Eleanor to community service at VA hospitals, grief counseling, and restitution, sparing her prison time. I presented Nathan's mission reports, including testimonials from Iraqi families who had named their school after him. Eleanor finally broke down, realizing her son's heroism was celebrated, not forgotten. Slowly, the community began to heal. Mediation replaced conflict, and Martha's live stream sparked nationwide legislation to protect veterans. Eleanor's public apology, circulated across the country, admitted her mistakes and committed her to supporting military families. 2 years later, my workshop became the Lieutenant Nathan Drake Veteran Protection Center, a hub for fraud prevention and veteran advocacy. Eleanor, transformed, ran Operation New Dawn, using her legal expertise to combat harassment against veterans. Martha became an investigative journalist, her footage influencing federal policy. Marcus Rivera, freed from Eleanor's blackmail, advocated for immigrant veterans. The center displayed Nathan's Bronze Star alongside stories of the veterans we had helped. When a Navy commander in Oregon called about a similar HOA scam, I grabbed my keys, touched Nathan's display, and smiled. We're going to protect you, I told her, ready for the next battle. The truth does not bend to fear or manipulation. It waits, steady as stone, to expose lies and shield those who serve. Nathan's legacy lives on in every veteran we safeguard from fraud and betrayal.